Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hidden side of the spotlight. When we think of BTS, we see the polished choreography, the chart-topping hits, and the glowing smiles that melt millions of hearts across the globe. But have you ever wondered what happens the moment the cameras stop flashing? We are diving deep into the confidential files of the men who stand between the idols and the chaos, the bodyguards. Specifically, we are cracking open the anecdotal vault of the legendary security personnel who have seen it all. They have shielded them from mobs at JFK, chased them through hotel corridors, and watched them grow from rookies to kings. But here is the burning question that keeps every army awake at night. Amongst these 7 perfect gentlemen, who actually gives the security team the biggest headache? Is it the member who refuses to stay in the car? The one who wanders off to look for crabs in a foreign country? Or perhaps the perfectionist who stays at the venue hours after everyone else has left? Get ready, because we are about to reveal a ranking that isn't about arrogance or diva behavior, because we know our boys are humble, but about pure, uncontainable energy and unpredictability. Who takes the crown for being the ultimate security nightmare? The answer might just shock you. Buckle up, because we are going behind the scenes. Number 7. Suga. The immovable object, the king of unbothered silence. To kick off our countdown of the security team's most delightful nightmares, we are starting with the member who presents a paradox so profound it baffles rookies and veterans alike. We are talking about the man, the myth, the living legend of lethargy, Min Yoongi, also known as Suga. Now, you might be scratching your head, wondering how the member famous for wanting to be reincarnated as a rock could possibly be difficult to manage. But let me tell you, Mr. Lee and the entire security detail have a very specific file on this Daegu genius. The challenge with Suga isn't about chasing him down streets or pulling him off chandeliers. No, the difficulty lies in the sheer, unadulterated force of his inertia. Picture this. It is 4 a.m. at Incheon International Airport. The air is freezing, the flashbulbs from the paparazzi create a strobe effect that could induce seizures, and the screaming fans are pressing against the barricades like a tidal wave of adoration. The security team is running on caffeine and adrenaline, shouting commands, trying to form the diamond formation to sweep the boys through the terminal efficiently. RM is striding forward, J-Hope is waving, but where is Suga? He is 10 feet behind, moving at a pace that can only be described as glacial defiance. Managing Suga is like trying to hurry a cat that has decided to sit in a sunbeam. The more you try to rush him, the slower he becomes. Mr. Lee notes that the stress doesn't come from physical exertion, but from the psychological warfare of trying to protect a client who seems completely oblivious to the chaos around him. He walks with that signature slump, bucket hat pulled low, mask up, effectively disappearing into his own world. For a bodyguard, eye contact is crucial for communication, but Suga offers nothing but a void of black clothing. You don't lead Suga, you merely accompany him and hope he doesn't decide to stop and inspect a vending machine in the middle of a mob. Furthermore, the Genius Lab era introduced a new level of difficulty, the waiting game. When Suga locks himself in his studio to produce the next chart-topping hit or an August D masterpiece, he doesn't come out for hours. Sometimes days. The security protocol requires a presence nearby, which means shifts of bodyguards standing outside a silent door, staring at a hallway, questioning their life choices, wondering if he is even still in there, or if he teleported out. They can't knock, they can't disturb the genius. They just have to wait. It is a test of endurance that rivals the toughest military training. And let's not forget, the August D shifts on stage. Usually, Suga is the calm anchor, but when that alter ego takes over, especially during tracks like Dachwita or That, he unleashes a burst of erratic, fiery energy that catches the stage security off guard. He runs to the edge of the stage, interacts with the crowd with a sudden ferocity, and then, just as quickly, reverts to his calm self. This unpredictability, the toggle switch between Grandpa Yoongi and Rap God, keeps the security detail on their toes. They never know which version they are getting. Is it the sleepy kitten who needs to be gently guided to the van? Or the rock star who might jump into the crowd? But perhaps the most stressful aspect for the bodyguards, according to the lore, is the protectiveness of the fans combined with his fragile history, specifically his shoulder. Every bodyguard knows that Min Yoongi's shoulder is a national treasure. The tension when moving him through a crowd is palpable because one wrong bump, one overzealous fan reaching out, could cause pain to the member who has silently endured so much. The bodyguards become hyper-vigilant, forming a tighter, more aggressive perimeter around him than anyone else, not because he asks for it, he never does, but because the silent weight of his presence commands that level of respect. He is the difficult case not because he creates trouble, but because his very existence demands a specialized, gentle, yet ironclad protocol. He is the heavy anchor of the group, hard to move, impossible to break, and absolutely essential to the ship. So, he takes the number 7 spot, the entry-level nightmare. The difficulty is internal. It's the stress of protecting a man who acts like he doesn't need protection, walking through the fire with his hands in his pockets, leaving the bodyguards to sweat the small stuff while he thinks about his next rhyme. He is the calm eye of the storm, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a terrifying place to be for a professional paid to anticipate disaster. Number 6. RM, the god of destruction. The leader of lost things. Moving from the immovable silence of Suga, we pivot violently to the other end of the spectrum, landing squarely on the broad, frantic shoulders of the leader himself, Kim Namjoon, widely feared in the security industry as the god of destruction. While Suga is difficult because he stops, RM takes the number 6 spot because he moves often directly into things, through things, or away from the things he is supposed to be holding. For Bodyguard Mr. Lee and the elite protection team, managing RM is not a job of physical intimidation. It is a job of intense, high-stakes babysitting and logistical crisis management. The world sees a charismatic diplomat, the man who spoke eloquently at the United Nations, the genius with an IQ of 148 who learned English from friends. But the bodyguards? They see a walking hazard zone. The primary source of stress for the security detail assigned to RM is the sheer unpredictability of his clumsy strength. We are talking about a man who can break a pair of sunglasses just by putting them on, who rips his shirt off during performances not out of sex appeal but because he underestimated the tensile strength of the fabric, and who has destroyed stage props worth thousands of dollars with a single, enthusiastic gesture. For a bodyguard, whose job is to maintain order, RM is an agent of entropy. When the group is moving through a crowded terminal, the security team isn't just watching for crazy fans. They are watching Namjoon's feet. Is he going to trip over his own shoelaces? Is he going to walk into a glass door because he was pondering the philosophical implications of a crab he saw earlier? There is a legendary anxiety that permeates the team whenever RM reaches into his pocket. Why? Because of the passport saga. The file on RM's lost items is thicker than the Holy Bible. There was the infamous trip to Northern Europe where he lost his passport, forcing him to return to Korea early, while the rest of the members continued filming Bon Voyage. Do you understand the headache that causes for a security team? It's a logistical nightmare involving embassies, emergency flights, and frantic managers. Since that day, there is an unwritten rule among the staff. RM is not allowed to hold his own important documents. The bodyguard literally has to be his external hard drive, carrying his phone, his wallet, his passport, and probably his AirPods, which he loses with such frequency that he probably single-handedly keeps Apple in business. But the difficulty goes deeper than just clumsiness. It is his curiosity. Namjoon is a lover of art, nature, and namkooning. This means that while on tour in foreign cities, he doesn't want to stay in the hotel. He wants to visit museums, ride bikes along the river, and inspect trees. This sounds peaceful, but for a bodyguard, it is terrifying. Securing a controlled perimeter in a public park or a crowded art gallery in New York or Paris without drawing attention is an art form. RM wants to be normal. He wants to blend in. He wears his unassuming boyfriend look clothes, but he is a 6-foot-tall, muscular global superstar. He stands out. Bodyguards have to follow him at a distance, disguised as regular tourists, constantly scanning for threats, while Namjoon is blissfully staring at a painting for 45 minutes. They have to balance his desire for freedom and normalcy with the reality that he is one of the most famous men on the planet. If he decides to ride a daeryungi, public bicycle, in Seoul, the security team has to figure out how to trail a bicycle on busy streets without causing a scene. It is a constant game of cat and mouse, where the mouse just wants to look at leaves, and the cat is having a panic attack about traffic safety. Furthermore, his physical transformation in recent years has added a new layer of difficulty. The bulk-up era created a monster. He doesn't know his own strength. A friendly pat on the back from RM can wind a normal-sized human. When he gets excited on stage, he jumps with such force that the stage technicians worry about the structural integrity of the platform. The bodyguards have to physically brace themselves when he comes in for a hug. He is a gentle giant, yes, but a giant nonetheless. And let's not forget the emotional labor. As the leader, he carries the weight of the group. He is the one translating, the one mediating, the one facing the press. The security team often sees him in his most vulnerable, exhausted moments after a long interview or a high-pressure speech. They have to protect his space not just from fans, but from the world that constantly demands a piece of his intellect. They become the gatekeepers of his sanity, ensuring he has those few moments of silence in the car to recharge before he has to be RM of BTS again. So, he is number 6. Not because he is a diva, he is arguably the most polite and humble client they have, but because managing him requires the reflexes of a ninja to catch falling objects, the administrative skills of a diplomat to fix his mistakes, and the patience of a saint to watch him destroy the same prop for the 3rd time in a row. Number 5. Jimin, the seductive timebender, the angel who holds the clock hostage. If you thought the clumsiness of a leader or the lethargy of a genius was the peak of stress for the big hit security team, prepare to have your expectations shattered by the man who occupies the number 5 spot with a smile that could end wars and a time management concept that could start them. We are talking about the it boy of Korea, the global darling, the man who was born in Busan first but now belongs to the world, Park Jimin. To the naked eye, Jimin is the epitome of grace, a literal angel who constantly checks on the staff, bows 90 degrees to everyone, and tweets sweet messages to ARMY before he goes to sleep. You might be thinking, how could this mochi, this precious bean, possibly be a nightmare for a bodyguard like Mr. Lee? The answer lies in 2 terrifying words that haunt the dreams of every logistical manager in the K-pop industry: punctuality and perfectionism. Let's open the Jimin file, shall we? In the high-stakes world of global touring, time is money, millions of dollars actually. Planes have takeoff slots, venues have curfews, and broadcast stations have live feed deadlines. But Park Jimin operates on a time zone that exists solely within his own artistic bubble, a phenomenon the members and staff affectionately but stressed-outly call Jimin time. Mr. Lee describes the scene. The convoy is ready. The engines of the black SUVs are purring like caged beasts. The other 6 members are buckled in, playing on their phones or sleeping. The tour manager is sweating, tapping his foot, checking his walkie-talkie every 30 seconds. Is the package secure? The head of security crackles over the radio. And the answer is always negative. We are waiting for Jimin. It isn't that he is lazy, it is quite the opposite. He is likely in the dressing room, obsessing over a single accessory, fixing a contact lens, or practicing a vocal run one last time. For a bodyguard, whose primary directive is to stick to the schedule to minimize exposure time in public areas, Jimin's chronic lateness is a recipe for ulcers. Every minute the cars sit idling in the driveway is a minute where fans can congregate, where paparazzi can tip off their networks, and where the security perimeter weakens. When Jimin finally emerges, looking absolutely flawless, he offers that apologetic, eye-crinkling smile that instantly disarms everyone, making it impossible to be mad at him, which is a psychological weapon in itself. But the difficulty doesn't end with the clock, it extends into the terrifying realm of his work ethic. There is a reason Jimin is known as the practice bug, but for the security team, this translates to the man who never goes home. Picture the scene. It is 2 a.m. after a sold-out concert at Wembley Stadium. The adrenaline has faded, the other members have showered and are back at the hotel eating room service and crashing. The crew is packing up the stage. But where is Jimin? He is back in the practice room or staying at the venue because he missed one note or felt his spacing was off by an inch during Black Swan. Security protocol demands that a member cannot be left alone. So, while the rest of the team gets to rest, a detail of bodyguards, including the exhausted Mr. Lee, must stand guard outside a dance studio, listening to the squeak of sneakers and the same track looping for 4 hours straight. They watch him push his body to the absolute limit, terrified that he might collapse from exhaustion. There is a palpable tension in the air. The bodyguards want to intervene to tell him it's enough, you were perfect, but they know their place is to protect, not to coach. Watching someone you protect destroy themselves for the sake of art is a heavy emotional burden for a security detail. They see the bruises, the muscle tape, the fatigue that the cameras never capture. Furthermore, let's discuss the Jimin effect in public spaces. While all members have fans, Jimin triggers a specific, visceral reaction from the crowd that is unique in its intensity. He is the flirting member. He engages with the camera. He makes eye contact. He touches his hair in that specific way that sends the crowd into a frenzy. When moving through airports, Jimin has a habit of slowing down to accept letters or to wave at a specific fan who is crying. He is too kind for his own safety. He wants to bridge the gap between idol and fan, but the bodyguard's job is to maintain that gap at all costs. There is a constant tug of war between Jimin's desire to connect and the bodyguard's desire to evacuate. He will stop walking to bow, he will roll down the window of the van just a crack to wave, and in those split seconds, the security threat level spikes to red. The mob surges forward, emboldened by his acknowledgement. Mr. Lee has to be the bad guy, the wall that physically pushes back the wave of love that Jimin invites. It is a heartbreaking dynamic, protecting an angel from the chaos his own halo creates. And let's not forget the lost child syndrome. Despite being a grown man, Jimin has a tendency to get distracted by shiny things, cute animals, or random shops while filming abroad. One moment he is right next to the bodyguard, the next he has vanished into a vintage clothing store in Paris because he saw a jacket he liked. The panic that ensues code red, "We lost the mochi," is the stuff of legend. The security team has to sweep the area, trying to find a small man with rainbow hair hiding in a rack of clothes, usually giggling. He doesn't do it to be difficult. He does it because he is full of wonder, but that wonder takes years off his bodyguards' lives. He is number 5 because managing him requires the patience of a kindergarten teacher, the stamina of an Olympic athlete, and the emotional fortitude to watch a perfectionist break himself down and build himself back up, night after night. He is the sweetest headache they will ever have, the beautiful delay that ruins the schedule but makes the final product worth every second of the wait. Number 4. Jin, the handsome rebel, the gamer who screams in the night. We have crossed the halfway mark, and the intensity is ramping up. We are leaving the realm of accidental difficulties, like clumsiness or lateness, and entering the territory of calculated chaos. Coming in at number 4 is the man who holds the title of Worldwide. Handsome, the oldest member of the group, and arguably the most deceptive figure in the entire security assessment file, Kim Seokjin, or simply Jin. You might assume that the Mat Young, eldest brother, would be the easiest to manage, the responsible adult who herds the younger ones, the calm voice of reason. Oh, how wrong you would be. Bodyguard Mr. Lee and the protection detail have a very different nickname for him, the uncontrollable variable. While RM breaks things by accident, Jin breaks the rules on purpose. The difficulty with managing Jin stems from his absolute refusal to let the atmosphere become too serious, even when the security situation demands it. He uses humor as a shield, but for a bodyguard trying to maintain a strict evacuation protocol, a client who stops to tell a dad joke to a confused customs officer is a unique kind of stress. Let's talk about the flying kiss protocol. To the fans, it is a gesture of love. To the security team, it is a detonator. There is a specific phenomenon documented by the staff known as the Seokjin surge. When the group is walking the red carpet or standing on a press line, the energy is tense but contained. The moment the very second Jin winds up his hand and unleashes that signature flying kiss, the crowd dynamic shifts instantly from observation to frenzy. The decibel level spikes, the barricades shake, and the fans lunge forward to catch the imaginary love. Mr. Lee notes that they practically have to brace themselves physically whenever they see Jin's hands start to rise. It is a weapon of mass distraction. He knows exactly what he is doing. He plays the crowd like a fiddle, revving them up right when security is trying to calm them down. He delights in the reaction, that windshield wiper laugh echoing while the bodyguards are sweating bullets trying to hold back the tide of affection he just unleashed. But the real nightmare, the one that gives the night shift security team gray hairs, takes place behind the closed doors of the hotel rooms. We are, of course, talking about the gaming catastrophes. Imagine this. It is 3 a.m. in a luxury hotel in Los Angeles. The floor is locked down, silence reigns, and the security detail is patrolling the corridor, listening for any threats. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream tears through the silence, coming from the presidential suite. It sounds like someone is being murdered. The team rushes to the door, hands on their earpieces, ready to breach, adrenaline flooding their systems. Is it an intruder? A medical emergency? No. They burst in, or frantically knock, only to find Jin, sitting in his RJ pajamas, face illuminated by the blue light of a gaming monitor, screaming because his character died in MapleStory, or he failed a level in Super Mario. For Jin, gaming is not a hobby, it is a lifestyle, a second career, a battle for survival. He brings his own equipment, monitors, keyboards, mice, which is a logistical headache in itself during travel, but the emotional volatility of his gaming sessions means the security team can never truly relax. They are constantly on edge, unable to distinguish between a cry for help and a cry of frustration over a pixelated mushroom. He sleeps when he wants, eats when he wants, and screams when he wants, operating on a schedule that defies all human circadian rhythms. Then, there is the Eat Jin unpredictability. Most celebrities order room service and eat quietly. Jin? He turns dinner into a global broadcast. The security aspect here is terrifyingly technical. When Jin goes live on Weverse or YouTube to eat steak or noodles, he becomes a loose cannon. The staff and security have to monitor these live streams in real time, terrified that he might accidentally point the camera out the window and reveal their location, doxing the hotel, or that he might spill company secrets after a glass of wine. There have been legendary moments where staff members, and by extension, security, have had to intervene from behind the camera, signaling him to stop talking, to which he usually responds by scolding the staff on live camera. He fights back. He is the only member who openly challenges the agency's rules in front of millions of people. If the company says no alcohol, Jin brings out the wine. If the company says cut the video, he talks for another 10 minutes. For a bodyguard whose job is to enforce boundaries, managing a client who actively dissolves them is a constant game of mental chess. He is a rebel in a cardigan. However, Mr. Lee's file also contains a note of profound respect, which adds to the emotional weight of managing him. The difficulty Jin presents is often a calculated sacrifice. The bodyguards have observed that when the younger members are stressed, terrified, or exhausted at an airport, Jin will intentionally do something embarrassing or loud. He will wear a ridiculous hat, trip on purpose, or make a loud joke. Why? To draw the cameras to him. He makes himself the target, the clown, the center of attention, effectively taking the heat off the others so they can breathe. He makes the job difficult for the bodyguards by creating chaos around himself, but he does it to protect his brothers. He is the lightning rod. He absorbs the flashes and the noise, so RM doesn't have to think, so Jungkook doesn't have to be scared, so Suga can sleep. Managing Jin is exhausted work because you are protecting a man who is busy protecting everyone else in the most unconventional, loud, and chaotic way possible. He is number 4 because he keeps you guessing. Is he joking? Is he fighting? Or is he saving the day? With Kim Seokjin, the answer is usually all 3 at once, and you just have to hold on for the ride. Number 3. J-Hope, the human siren, the general of false alarms. We have arrived at the bronze medal position, the entry point into the holy trinity of security headaches, and this placement shocks almost everyone who reads the file. We are talking about the sunshine of the group, the smile that lights up the darkest stadiums, the dance commander himself, Jung Ho-seok, alias J-Hope. You are probably screaming at your screen, how? How can the most professional, organized, and cheerful member be number 3? Well, mister? Lee takes a deep breath, rubs his temples, and points to a section in the manual titled Sensory Overload and False Positives. The difficulty with managing J-Hope is not that he creates trouble, but that he reacts to the world with such explosive, high decibel intensity that he constantly triggers the security team's fight-or-flight response. J-Hope is easily startled, a fact known well by ARMY, but for a bodyguard trained to react to threats, J-Hope is a walking panic button. Picture this scenario. The team is escorting the boys through a dark backstage corridor. Tension is high. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoes off the concrete walls, a sound of pure, unadulterated terror. The security detail instantly snaps into code black formation. They draw their tactical flashlights, they shield the other members, they scan the rafters for snipers or attackers. And what was the threat? A moth. A slightly larger than average moth had fluttered near Hobie's ear. The adrenaline dump that the bodyguards experience in that split second takes hours to recover from. Mr. Lee notes that guarding J-Hope is like guarding a very expensive, very loud car alarm that goes off if a leaf falls on it. The constant state of, is he dying or did he just see a spider, wears down the nerves of even the most hardened veterans. They live on the edge of a heart attack because J-Hope's fear response is indistinguishable from a genuine emergency. But the difficulty flips on its head when Sunshine Hobie retires and General Young enters the room. This is the second phase of the nightmare, the hyper-competence paradox. Hope is the dance leader, the perfectionist who notices every detail. This observational superpower extends to security. He notices everything. If a bodyguard is standing 2 inches off their mark, J-Hope sees it. If the perimeter is slightly loose on the left flank, J-Hope notices it. While other members are zoning out, J-Hope is scanning the environment with the eyes of a hawk. It is incredibly stressful to protect a client who is arguably more alert than the protection team. There is a legendary story where the security team missed a cue during a chaotic airport arrival, and before the head of security could shout a command, J-Hope had already physically rearranged the other members into a safer formation, guiding them by the shoulders, effectively doing the bodyguard's job for them. It is a blow to the ego, a reminder that Hobie is watching. You cannot slack off around him. You cannot have a bad day. He demands a level of excellence just by existing. And then there is the issue of kinetic containment. The man cannot stop moving. We are talking about a human being whose resting state is a body roll. In the confined space of a moving vehicle, while the bodyguard is trying to monitor radio traffic, J-Hope is often conducting a full dance rehearsal in the back seat, flailing limbs, practicing popping and locking, shaking the entire SUV. Trying to keep a low profile in a public restaurant is impossible when your client starts uncontrollably dancing because the background music has a good beat. He draws attention like a magnet. The security team has to constantly whisper, "Hosok si, please stillness," a request that is physically painful for him to grant. He is a vessel of pure energy that spills over every container you try to put him in. Yet, the most emotional aspect of his file is his role as the group's emotional battery. The bodyguards see the toll it takes. They see the moment the smile drops when he enters the elevator. They see the exhaustion of always having to be the hope. The difficulty here is protecting his spirit. Mr. Lee mentions that when J-Hope is down, the entire atmosphere of the convoy crumbles. The security team finds themselves wanting to cheer him up, stepping out of their professional boundaries to offer a joke or a candy just to see the sun come back out. He is. Number 3, because he keeps the security team in a state of perpetual physiological arousal, jumping at shadows because he jumped first, and because his sharp, eagle-eyed standards force every bodyguard to bring their A-game, fearing the judgment of the dance leader more than their own boss. Number 2, V. The social anomaly, the prince who vanishes in plain sight. We have reached the penultimate position, the silver medalist in the Olympics of security stress, and things are about to get weird. If J-Hope is a loud alarm and Jin is a calculated rebel, the man at number 2 is a riddle wrapped in Gucci, shrouded in jazz, and delivered with a boxy smile that hides a mind operating on a frequency no security radio can tune into. We are entering the domain of Kim Tae-young, the one and only V. To the casual observer, V is the visual god, the man with the deepest voice and the most soulful eyes. But to Bodyguard Mr. Lee and the weary protection detail, V is known by a far more daunting codename, the Glitch. Why? Because managing Tae-young is like trying to provide security for a cloud. He is shapeless, drifting, and completely immune to the laws of physics and protocol that govern normal human beings. The primary source of the migraine he induces is his legendary social butterfly effect. Most celebrities try to hide from the public. They wear masks, hats, and look down. V walks into a crowded jazz bar in Paris, without a mask, and strikes up a conversation with the elderly couple at the next table about the structural integrity of a saxophone. For a bodyguard, this is a nightmare scenario known as unvetted contact. Protocol dictates a secure perimeter where no strangers enter. V dissolves this perimeter simply by being himself. He invites people in. He hands strawberries to reporters. He rolls down the window to show fans his paintings. He trusts the world implicitly, which forces the security team to mistrust the world explicitly and aggressively. Mr. Lee describes the sweat-drenched panic of watching V wander off toward a group of strangers because he saw a cute dog. The bodyguards have to sprint, not to stop an attacker, but to background check a golden retriever and its owner in 3 seconds flat before V is on his knees hugging the animal. He has zero sense of stranger danger, which means the security team has to have 100% sense of it for him. He effectively turns every random encounter into a potential security breach, not out of malice, but out of pure, unadulterated whimsy. Then, there is the vanishing act. Unlike RM, who gets lost because he is distracted, V vanishes because he chooses to explore. There are horror stories from the Bon Voyage eras and tours where the headcount is 1, 2, 3. Wait, where is Taeyoung? He isn't in the bathroom. He isn't in the van. He has silently slipped away to look at a dandelion growing in a crack in the pavement 3 blocks away. He moves with a stealth that betrays his size. He can move silently when he wants to, ghosting away from the pack to follow a whim. The security team has developed a tether system mentally, where one guard's sole, undivided responsibility is to never ever blink when looking at V. If you blink, he is gone. He might be climbing a tree. He might be buying corn from a street vendor. He is the king of side quests. While the main mission is get to the hotel, V is on a side mission titled Find the Vibe. And speaking of vibes, let's discuss the mood-based logistics. V is a deeply emotional and artistic soul. If the vibe isn't right, the movement stops. There is a stubbornness in him, the famous totem-like face energy that is immovable. If he doesn't want to wear shoes, he walks barefoot. Do you know the logistical nightmare of protecting a barefoot billionaire in an airport? The bodyguards have to scan the floor for glass, pins, and dirt, walking ahead of him like curling sweepers, just because V decided his feet needed to breathe. If he decides he wants to stop the car to take a photo of a sunset, the convoy stops. It doesn't matter if there is traffic. Art takes precedence. He commands the flow of time not with a watch, but with his feelings. If he is feeling melancholy, he moves slowly, heavily, dragging the atmosphere down with him, making the walk to the car feel like a funeral procession that puts everyone on edge. If he is hyper, he is hanging out of sunroofs. This unpredictability means the security team cannot have a standard plan. They must have a V plan, which is essentially just improvisation. Furthermore, the Paris Fashion Week incident is now used as a case study in bodyguard training academies. The crowds V attracts are different. They aren't just screaming fans. They are a crushing, artistic mob. V feeds off the energy. He doesn't cower. He stands on the balcony. He poses. He incites the roar. He creates a feedback loop of chaos. He isn't afraid of the crowd, which makes him dangerous to manage because he will walk right up to the barricade to accept a flower, leaning over a railing that is holding back 2,000 people. Mr. Lee recounts moments where his heart stopped, watching V dangle purely on trust, believing the fans wouldn't pull him over. The bodyguard has to be the anchor, physically holding onto his belt or shirt, invisible to the cameras but straining with every muscle to keep the prince from falling into his kingdom. He is number 2 because he is a wild card. He doesn't follow the script. He rewrites the reality around him, and the security team is just forced to live in his world, constantly scanning for dogs, protecting his bare feet, and praying he doesn't decide to make friends with a suspicious stranger. He is the beautiful, terrifying anomaly that proves no amount of planning can prepare you for a free spirit. Number 1. Jungkook. The Golden Menace. The Usain Bolt of nightmares. Here we are. The summit. The peak of the mountain. We have traversed the sleepy valleys of Suga, the clumsy minefields of RM, and the vanishing forests of V, but nothing, absolutely nothing could prepare Bodyguard Mr. Lee and his elite team for the ultimate boss level, the singular force of nature that occupies the number 1 spot. We are talking about the Golden Maknae, the man who is good at everything, including escaping security, Jungkook. If the other members are difficult to manage, Jungkook is, according to the security files, an active hazard. Why? Because, unlike the others, Jungkook combines the impulsivity of youth with the physical prowess of an Olympic athlete. He is the only member who poses a genuine physical challenge to the bodyguards. If RM breaks a prop, Jungkook outruns the protection detail. Let's open the file labeled cardio failure. There is a running joke, pun intended, in the industry that to guard Jungkook, you don't need a resume. You need a 100-meter dash time of under 11 seconds. The stadium laps are the bane of every security guard's existence. During sound checks or in cores, when the energy is high, Jungkook doesn't just walk the stage, he sprints. He takes off like a gazelle released into the wild, doing full laps around the extended stage, jumping over cables, leaping onto platforms. The bodyguards? They are heavy. They are wearing suits, tactical gear, earpieces, and dress shoes. Watching a 250-pound bodyguard try to keep pace with a bunny-smiling Jungkook who is moving at Mach 10 is a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. They are gasping for air, clutching their sides, screaming into their radios, "Target is moving! Target is moving fast!" while Jungkook is barely breaking a sweat. He treats the security team like his personal gym buddies, often turning around to grin at them as if to say, "Keep up, Hyung!" But the speed is just the beginning. The real terror comes from his fearless intimacy. Jungkook loves ARMY with a ferocity that overrides all logic and safety protocols. He is the member most likely to jump the barricade, literally. There are documented incidents where Jungkook, seeing a fan in distress or simply wanting to get closer, has bypassed the no man's land between the stage and the pit. For a bodyguard, seeing your client voluntarily throw himself into a sea of grasping hands is the equivalent of watching someone jump out of a plane without a parachute. The Stray Kid incident in Paris is legendary. One moment he was in the designated safe zone. The next, he was practically in the crowd, filming himself, surrounded by thousands of people. The security perimeter collapsed not because of an attack, but because the VIP invited the collapse. Mr. Lee describes the sensation of trying to pull Jungkook back as trying to wrestle a tiger cub that thinks it's playing. He is strong. He boxes, he lifts. When a bodyguard puts a hand on his back to guide him, Jungkook is a solid wall of muscle. If he plants his feet, he doesn't move. If he wants to go left, the team goes left, simply by the physics of his momentum. He physically dominates the space in a way the older members don't. Then we must discuss the solo-era anarchy. When Jungkook released 7 and Golden, the security threat level went global. The surprise performance at Times Square in New York City is cited as the single most stressful event in recent bodyguard history. Thousands of people flooded the streets, the crowd density was dangerous, and there was Jungkook, standing on a fragile stage, vibrating with energy, leaning over the edge. The sheer volume of people he attracts is different. It's a younger, more frantic, more kinetic crowd. The bodyguards have to be on high alert for projectiles of love fans throwing plushies, flowers, or letters. Jungkook, with his hunter reflexes, tries to catch them. Security tries to block them. It becomes a game of goalkeeper where the ball is a potential hazard and the goalie is a terrifyingly expensive idol. Furthermore, the Coachella infiltration remains a sore spot. Jungkook tried to attend the festival as a regular guy, cutting his bangs, wearing simple clothes. He wanted to be invisible, but he is Jungkook. He has an aura. Within minutes, people recognized him. The security team, who were trying to stay low-key to support his disguise, suddenly had to switch from chill festival vibes to protect the asset in a split second as a mob formed in the middle of the desert. He constantly underestimates his own fame. He thinks he can just go to a convenience store or walk down the street in Qatar. He forgets that he is one of the most famous faces on Earth. This civilian delusion forces the bodyguards to be the bearers of bad news, the ones who have to say, "No, Jungkook, you cannot just walk to the hot dog stand." And let's not forget the vampire schedule. If Jin screams at 3 a.m., Jungkook starts doing laundry, cooking ramen, or holding a concert on Weverse at 4 a.m. The security detail at his residence or hotel cannot sleep, ever. They have to monitor the live streams because, as we all know, Jungkook has a tendency to fall asleep on camera. Do you know the panic of a security guard watching their client pass out live in front of 10 million people? Do they go in and wake him up? Do they let him sleep? It is a logistical and ethical gray area that stresses them out to no end. He is also the sparring partner. He treats his head of security not just as a protector, but as a boxing dummy. There are times backstage when he wants to hit the pads to warm up. The bodyguards have to be physically fit enough to take a punch from the golden matinee. It is an interactive job. You aren't just standing there, you are dodging hooks and jabs. He takes the #1 spot because he attacks the security team on all fronts. physical exhaustion from chasing him, mental exhaustion from his unpredictability, and emotional exhaustion from his sheer, blinding innocence. He doesn't cause trouble to be mean. He causes trouble because he wants to live life to the fullest. He wants to taste the rain, touch the fans, and run until his lungs burn. He is a wild horse that cannot be broken, only guided. And for Mr. Lee and the team, every day with Jungkook is a gamble, a high-speed chase, and a heart attack waiting to happen. He is the ultimate challenge, the final boss, the most difficult member to manage. Because he refuses to be managed, he can only be survived. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the confidential files of Bodyguard Mr. Lee. Thank you for joining us on this wild ride behind the velvet rope.